Alrighty guys, welcome to the page 4 homework here. Seems to not be zoomed in correctly. Let me see if I can focus this at all. Nope, that's about as good as it's going to get. I guess the page itself is a little blurry. It's all good, so let's get going on. We got our quadratic formula. I'm just going to write it once at the top of the page here because we got to have it memorized at this point. We got x equals negative b over 2a plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a again. Quick notes about this. Don't forget your plus or minus sign. It's a negative b, so it's the opposite sign every time. B squared minus 4ac is on the inside of the square root. This 2a is not. If you need a redo of that entire lesson, it is in this packet here, and you could also come by and see me after school, after class, at lunch, whenever. But let's just go through it. Honestly, these questions are really just a lot of plug and chug and reducing, maybe using your calculator a little bit as is appropriate. So let's get going on it. So in this one, we got a is equivalent to 6, b is equivalent to negative 11, and c is equivalent to negative 12. A is simply the number in front of the x squared. B is the number in front of the x. Don't forget the negative sign if there is one. And C is the number by itself here, this negative 12. No, everything doesn't need to be on one side of the equation. Like on this one, I'm going to have to go ahead and add 8 to both sides before I do anything else. But yeah, we're good here. So right away, we got negative of negative 11, negative b over 2a plus or minus. We got square root negative 11b squared minus 4a, which is 6 times c, which is negative 12, all divided by 2a. You just got to reduce, simplify, do the best you can. Negative of a negative is a positive. 2 times 6, that's a positive 12, plus or minus. Negative 11 squared is a 121. Negative 4 times 6, that's going to be 24, multiplied by 12. So, sorry, negative 24 multiplied by negative 12, it's going to be a positive 288. That is all under that square root. All is divided by 12. Feel free to use a calculator for any of this. You don't need to be doing this in your head by hand, whatever. We're almost done. We got 11 over 12 plus or minus 121 plus 288. That's going to be 409, I believe. Yeah. And that's a prime number, so it can't be reduced. So these are our answers. This is what x is. It's 2 different answers. So you do need to write both of those separate answers on the actual test. So like for instance, on this question, we need to write 11 over 12 plus the square root of 409 over 12, and x equals 11 over 12 minus the square root of 409 over 12. Now, I'm going to tell you right now in this homework, I'm not going to do that every single time, and you don't have to either. However, on the test itself, you must write both separate. So if you want to practice writing both separate to remind yourself for the test, that might be a good idea. I'll leave it up to you. Let's go on to number 2. Number 2, again, we got that a equals 2, b equals negative 4, c equals negative 23, and we are plugging and chugging. We got negative of negative b over 2a plus or minus that square root of negative 4 squared minus the 4 times the a times the c. Oof. All divided by 2 times 2. Again, all I've done is I've replaced every single one of those letters in the quadratic formula with the required numbers. A negative of a negative 4 is a positive 4. A 2 times a 2 is a positive 4. Plus or minus. Negative 4 squared is 16. Minus, and we got 4 times 2 is 8. And then negative 8. And negative 8 times negative 23 is positive 1. Negative 8, 23, 160, 189. No, not 189. 188. I gotta do it again. We got 8 times 2, 160, and 3 times 3, 24, 184. There you go. Okay. Sorry, it's getting a little bit late for the mental math here. All right, then you got 4 plus or minus. You got that square root 16 plus 184. That's going to be 4 over 4 is 1. The square roots of 200 over 4. Please note, that's full credit in my class, but I want to remind you of something. The 200 there, you can rewrite 200 as 100 times 2. Because of that, the square root of 100 is 10, so I can actually rewrite this guy as 1 plus or minus 10 rad 2 over 4. And 10 over 4 reduces. So you don't have to do this, by the way. This is full credit. If you want to do this, you can. 10 over 4 is 5 rad 2 over 2 here. So this is really the final answer the way it really should be written. For some reason, the back of the book actually makes this a 2 over 2. It makes this a single fraction. Not back of the book. The back of the packet does that. I don't really know why the computer decided to do that, but honestly, this is cool for me. So anyways, this is good, this is good, this is good, all good. I don't care. Let's do this one. Over here, we have to add 8 to both sides of the equation before we start. After we've added 8 to both sides of the equation, we get negative 11 equals 0. And we just got to keep on moving. We got A is positive 7, B is negative 7, C is negative 11. And therefore, we got negative of negative 7 over 2 times 7 plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Oh, I wrote 2a. I meant to write 2 times 7. Bummer. All right. Yeah, we're just gonna keep on doing this over and over and over again. Honestly, I don't feel like reducing this one right now. Back of the book reduces it for you. It does just fine. Let's go into some of the ones that I want us to think about and talk about more before. So number 5 is the next one actually I really care about doing. The reason why is because this one's a little bit more confusing because of a couple things. First of all, if I simply move that 36 over, I still don't have an x. So it gets confusing. I can simply say A equals 4, B equals 0, and C equals 36 with a negative on it, and do the whole quadratic formula. But why waste all this time? Remember, the quadratic formula is like, you know, the big guns. It's when you pull it out when you really need it, but you don't really need to do it if you don't want to. Because look at this question. It's so easy with no extra effort. Just take the original problem, divide both sides by 4. Treat it like a little baby question. 36 over 4, that's 9. Take the square root of both sides and we get x equals plus or minus 3. So much easier than doing the whole quadratic formula nonsense all over the place. There's no sense in spending all the time doing that. Question number 6. First we move that 72 to the other side. But then we got to notice something. We got to notice that every single one of these guys is divisible by 6. So just like in this question where I divided both sides by 4, I'm going to divide everything by 6. Divide by 6. Divide by 6. Divide by 6. If I do that, I got a b squared plus a b minus 72 over 6 is 12 equals 0. And then you could do quadratic formula. Or you could simply notice that negative 12 is the same thing as positive 4 multiplied by negative 3, and therefore I could just do b plus 4 multiplied by b minus 3, 0, and therefore b equals negative 4 and b equals positive 3. We got such an easier process than doing that whole quadratic formula if you just remember to factor. Number 7, very similar vein. Just like before, subtract 8 on both sides here. If I subtract 8 on both sides there, I'm going to get minus 84 here equals 0. And then I got to remember, divide them all by 2. If we divide them all by 2, I get n squared plus an n minus 42 equals 0. And yet again, I can factor. We got n plus 7 times n minus 6 equals 0. And therefore, n equals negative 7 or positive 6. This is so much better than, quadratic formula when you don't have to do it. Number 8, almost identical. Divide everything by 2 after, actually gotta move stuff over first, sorry. Divide everything by 2. We got 5x squared minus 9x plus 6 equals 0. And now we ask ourselves, do we want to do factor by grouping? or do we not want to do factor by grouping? Honestly, you pick your favorite. You want to do quadratic formula, you can, or you can do factor by grouping. I'm going to do quadratic formula. I don't feel like factor by grouping, so now I am just going to go ahead and do it. But on this question, I'm telling you, you could have done factor by grouping, and the reason why is you could do 5 times 6, and that's going to give you 30. Is anything multiply to 30 and add to -9? I'm thinking for myself. I don't know. I don't think anything does multiply to 30 and add to -9. Maybe it doesn't work. Let's see. 1 times 30, 2 times 15, 3 times 10, 4 times nothing works, 5 times 6. None of these add to -9. Oh, you can't factor. You got to use quadratic formula, so let's do it. We got negative of -9 divided by 2a plus or minus. We got a square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, and we got positive 9/10 plus or minus. Okay, let's just do this in one step. We can just do this in our calculator in one step. We don't have to take so much time, writing out, this whole thing, twice and again and 3 times and all this stuff. We can just do it once. So we got -9 squared, that's 81. -4 times 5, that's -20. -20 times 6. Uh-oh. This has I answers. Did we really give I answers, or did I make a mistake?
Can't see because...
Oh my gosh, look, I just added an X into this question. There was no X here, and I just, decided to put one. What a disaster. This is all wrong. I hope no one was writing in pen like I was. Whoopsie daisy. Alright, there's no X here, so let's treat this question like this problem over here. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Oh man, it's too late at night, guys. Everything's a disaster. I'm going to add 18 to both sides of the equation. If I add 18 to both sides of the equation, I get -12 plus 18, which is 6. Divide both sides by 10. 6 over 10 reduces to 3 over 5, divided top and bottom by 2. Use a fraction to reduce, whatever you want to do. And therefore, x equals plus or minus the square root of 3 over 5. Or you could be a little bit fancier and rewrite it as 5 rather 3 over 5. I don't care. Let's just leave it like that. I'm kind of done here. I want to finish this stuff up. Let's just do it. Add the 9b to both sides here. Get it to equal 0. We got 3b squared minus 9b minus 3 equals 0. Just make sure I didn't make a mistake in this first step here. I'm paranoid now. Alright, divide everything by 3. If I divide... Oh my gosh, you can't even see what I'm doing. What a disaster. I wonder how much of this you weren't able to see. This is officially the worst video I've done this year, guys. I apologize. I almost should re-record this. Alright, we'll see. It's 11:25. I want to get to bed. We got divide by 3, divide by 3, divide by 3. Got b squared minus 3b minus 1 equals 0. And we got a equals 1, b equals -3, c equals -1. And then we got a negative b over 2a plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a, which is 3 over 2 plus or minus. And what do we got here? We got 9 plus 4 is 13. Easy enough. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and say I have faith in you doing this last question. I'm going to get to bed. You guys need help on the 2 that I did or the 2 that I screwed up. Come in at lunch after school. And good luck. Have a wonderful weekend. I will see you guys tomorrow or the next day.